Welcome back to Explain America. This is your host, Kyle Becker. Well, Kamala Harris has reared her head once again. She is back on a book tour. That's right, she has a book called 107 Days. Oh, how could we forget? They were filled with gaffes and cackles and awkward moments galore. And Kamala Harris wants to remind us of that for some reason, about how she undemocratically stole the delegates from senile invalid Joe Biden, who was the president in name only at the time. And she has a statement about Donald Trump and his supporters that should ruffle some feathers. She's saying MFers are crazy out there, but we think it says more about you than it does about us, and we're going to break this down shortly. But before we do, please like, share, and comment at Explain America. Join us. We appreciate your support for common sense journalism. Now, Kamala Harris, she has failed at pretty much everything that she has tried to do in politics. She couldn't get the Democratic nomination fair and square, so she wiggled her way into the Biden administration, and she was able to once again finagle a top job that she fell upwards into, and that's Vice President of the United States. We think it's because she checked a lot of diversity boxes that she was even considered to begin with. And we all know how she became an attorney general and also prosecutor in San Francisco. Ask Willie Brown if you need to know more about that. But Kamala Harris, well, she's on this book tour, 107 days. Well, what happened during those 107 days? Your political career melted down. You don't have a career ahead of you in politics, no matter how much you might try, no matter how much you try to push this 107 days book that apparently was ghostwritten and you don't even know what's in it. We saw some juicy gossip come out of it already, and it looked like Kamala Harris didn't even know what she had in the book. So it's pretty hilarious, but it's on brand for her. Well, she gave an appearance in Los Angeles at the Getty Center, and she was bashing Donald Trump and his supporters. And one of the things that she said is that this was one of the closest elections in recent history. Let's take a look at this, and then we'll break it down.
And here's the other thing that is quite unprecedented. And it was the tightest, closest presidential election in the 21st century. He does not have a mandate. That is not a mandate. That is not a mandate.
Well, Kamala, it wasn't really the closest election race in history. Even if we take the Al Gore versus W race out of the equation, there were closer elections since then. And, well, Donald Trump, he has a mandate. That's right, because he won the popular vote. He won the Electoral College vote. He took every swing state. That's right, every major swing state, no matter how you break it down. Maintain the House and the Senate. He won the Senate and the House. And so, guess what? He does have a mandate. Donald Trump is the president of the United States. You need to get over it because you sound a lot like a former failed presidential candidate, and that's Hillary Clinton. And I don't know what it is about Donald Trump leaving scars on these presidential candidates because, well, they seem increasingly desperate and shrill. And one of the things that she said that really should ring some alarm bells to us is that she said about Trump supporters, MFers are crazy. Let's watch.
Because there's so much about this moment that is trying to make people feel like they've lost their mind. When in fact, these are crazy.
Well, Kamala, we are not crazy. Let's lay out what we want. We want a secure border like 90% of the countries in the world have, and that means enforcing immigration laws. We want a prosperous economy, which is something the Biden administration that you were part of did not give the American people. We also want no foreign wars overseas, and I think Donald Trump has done his best to keep us out of foreign wars, despite your weakness inviting the Russia invasion of Ukraine, and then you gave over 100 packages of aid to the Ukrainians after the war was started. And so your policies have been an utter disaster. Of course, we had also the Israel and Hamas conflict happen on Biden's watch. So it was one disaster after another. And that was not just for 107 days. And that's when you stole the nomination from Joe Biden. That's right, you were undemocratically appointed to be his successor. And oh boy, was that brutal, because you made one idiotic statement after another. And this just goes into the books to serve as a reminder about why you cannot be trusted with the nomination in 2028. Of course, no Democrat in the party right now can be trusted. Even the sanest one out there, and that is Fetterman, well, he's still not completely a straight shooter on every issue. His votes say a lot about his reliability to being an actual counterpoint to the radical, insane, crazy, deranged Democratic Party. And if you want to talk about crazy, well, we can talk about the various woke agendas that you push in our schools and with children. You talk about the open borders policy, and you combine that with our massive debt, which is like $37.5 trillion now. Democrats refuse to help rein any of this in. Republicans, they have been weak on this as well. But there is no leadership out of the Democratic Party on any major issue that I can think of. Maybe you can think of one. If you can, please enlighten us on what the Democratic Party actually does that is good for the American people. And we always appreciate hearing from you at Explain America.